James S. Lasswell was a public school teacher in the Vincennes City School Corporation, for a total of 39 years, an educator to the highest sense. Red Skelton referred to Mr. Lasswell as, the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, he had such wisdom, and identified him as the principal of Harrison Elementary School. Red Skelton was one of his students at Harrison Elementary School.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom.
Red referenced Mr. Lasswell as the inspiration for his famous Pledge of Allegiance monologue, making Mr. Lasswell somewhat of a celebrity. 1969. After Mr. Red Skelton's famous Pledge of Allegiance, the story went viral, so to speak. It was in every newspaper in the country. It was said by his old acquaintances that Mr. Lasswell would have been embarrassed by the national publicity he has received recently. As the teacher whose lesson on patriotism inspired comedian Red Skelton, let's find out a little more about this teacher that made such an impact on his students. Mr. Lasswell received his training from Vincennes University, and Indiana State Teachers College in Terra Haute. When James S. Lasswell was born on April 3, 1875, in Knox County, Indiana, his father, John, was 44, and his mother Susanna was 40. James Lasswell had 5 siblings, 4 sisters, and 1 brother. His father John was a grocer. James S. Lasswell married Ida Snyder September 14, 1902, in Knox County, Indiana. She was the daughter of John R. and Sarah Snyder of Harrison Township, Knox County, Indiana. Mr. Lasswell started working as a school teacher in rural Knox County in 1896, when he was 21 years old. James Lasswell worked as a school teacher at William Henry Harrison Elementary School on North 2nd Street, at Indianapolis Street. The school building does not exist any longer. Vincennes University purchased the school, and tore it down. Harrison Elementary joined with Tecumseh Elementary, to become Tecumseh-Harrison Elementary. Mr. Lasswell also served the Tecumseh Elementary School, and was principal at the Riley Elementary School at different times. Mr. and Mrs. James Lasswell had 2 children, Elwood Kemp Lasswell, born October 25, 1904, and Helen F Lasswell, born September 16, 1910. Both children were born in Knox County, Indiana. The family lived most of their time together, at 1201 North 11th Street in Vincennes, Indiana, until the children got old enough to move out on their own. Their son Elwood K. Lasswell became employed as an aeronautical engineer in Dayton, Ohio. After he graduated in 1926 from Purdue University, mechanical engineering. October 7, 1948, while attending a convention in Los Angeles, California, Elwood was found in his hotel room, deceased from an apparent heart attack. He was only 43. He was returned to Ohio and buried in the family plot in Woodland Cemetery, Dayton, Ohio. Helen F Lasswell attended Purdue University, and graduated from Miami Jacobs Business College. Last known job was with Dayton Power and Light Company. She married Gale G Law on September 24, 1938, while living in Ohio. Probably she had been living with her brother and his wife. Helen had 3 children with Gale G Law. She died on October 12, 1980, in Tucson, Arizona, at the age of 70, and was buried there. James Lasswell died in January 21, 1938 at the age of 62, only 2 years after he retired from teaching. His wife Ida died February 8, 1951. James S. and Ida Lasswell are buried in Fairview Cemetery in Vincennes, Indiana, near his brother Reverend Linden D. Lasswell (1868–1943) and wife, Anna Prather Lasswell. Persons who knew Mr. Lasswell recalled the kindly principal as very quiet and unassuming.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. And I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher, Mr. Lasswell was his name. Mr. Lasswell. And he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester. And it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity, allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts, freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life, without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?